Please subscribe.
Okay, Christopher Peaks back here today with my wingman Brandon Moseley for a special segment of our BCS State of Alabama podcast. And we have Brent Woodall here with us. Brent is currently Assistant District Attorney in Colbert County, formerly worked for the AG's office and was Chip Beaker's Chief of Staff on the PSC. In 2022, he ran for PSC, making it to the runoff against Jeremy Oden before being nipped in a very close contested race. Brent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I hope y'all are doing well also this evening.
Good. So Brent, let me ask you, man, starting off, last time you brought to forefront to the voters about a hidden tax that was put on them by the PSC. Can you explain that again?
Sure, I'll be glad to. And just to let your viewers know, this is something that I learned during the time that I worked at the PSC as a chief of staff for one of the commissioners, as you mentioned. And it's something that bothered me greatly as a conservative. And that's why 3 years ago now, before next year, when this thing is in full blast, that I made it the center point of my campaign. But it's actually, I don't mind telling you, the last time I ran, at some point, there was somebody from the PSC who said that I was, and I'm being generous here, that I was misleading people by saying this. And so I started in my speeches to say, okay, they say that I'm misleading you. Let me just quote you the statute. And this is from section 29-11-1 of the Code of Alabama. I must say, an attorney got paid very well to come up with this language. It starts out in section A, notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary. Now listen to this, the next segment of this. It says, in order to provide for an increase in receipts into the state general fund for the funding of the operations of state government. Somebody, like I said, a lawyer got paid a lot of money to come up with that phrase. Instead of saying taxes, it says in order to provide for an increase in receipts into the state general fund. Well, what goes in the state general fund? We all know taxes. They're trying to increase those taxes. And then they say, they clarify that, say for the funding of the operations of state government. Following all that language in subsection A, there is a list of entities of state agencies that send their money to the state general fund. Number 9 is the Public Service Commission. The important part to me in all of this that people need to understand is that the Public Service Commission does not get any money from the state general fund. It gets its money from the utility companies that it regulates. They pay to the PSC for the privilege of being regulated. And I guess that's the best way of putting it. But they get their money, of course, from their customers, from their ratepayers. And so people are getting their utility bills in the mailbox. They sit down, they write out a check. They may go by the office and pay it in cash, but they think they're paying their utility bill, and they are. But also, as part of what they are paying is this hidden tax that they don't know about. And that to me is very troubling and something that we need to get rid of. And that's one of the things that I intend to do as a Public Service Commission commissioner.
Well, last time in your race, Commissioner Oden broke several campaign laws while running against you. Do you think he should be disqualified from running again?
Well, I'll leave that up to the people in Montgomery who have oversight authority in that area. But I will not use, I mean, you know this, and Brandon, you know this, I'm sitting in an office that I have rented from someone because I'm not going to use my government office to do an interview for political purposes. I wouldn't take my photograph in a government office for political purposes. I know that he did some things of that nature. It's wrong, shouldn't have been done. But as far as any action that's going to be taken against him, again, I'm just going to leave that up to the people who have oversight in Montgomery of that.
Mr. Woodall.
Yes, sir.
Last time you ran 4 years ago, the big issue was the rates. we had fuel prices about $80 a barrel. And it was costing more money to make power, than it had, traditionally. Now oil's down to $18, a barrel, and natural gas is just not that far down, but it's not what it was. Does
Right.
this take away some of the impetus? I mean, having Trump in there is obviously huge,
Yeah.
away from some of the public's, concerns about their power, power and natural gas rates.
Well, I really don't think it should, as far as just how energy is produced. The one thing that I will say along those lines is one of the things that my opponent likes to say, or liked to say a few years ago, as well as other members of the PSC when they're out campaigning, is they talk about how they support coal and they were fighting Biden. Well, Joe Biden didn't have a clue that they were in Montgomery supposedly fighting him. They don't fight Biden. But as far as the production of energy, I don't think it's really going to have that much of an impact as to how the power companies, produce energy, according to what the PSC allows them to do, or blesses their efforts.
Well, Mr. Woodall, here in Montgomery County, we're having literally thousands of acres of what was farmland or pasture land turned into solar farms. Um, it's kind of interesting to see land taken out of agriculture and put into, just solar panels out the wazoo.
Right.
How much more of that do you think we're going to see?
Well, that, I guess, of course, depends on what the price of oil does in the future. I will say this, there are cloudy days in Alabama. There are a lot of times when solar panels are not going to be producing energy, and that's something that we have to keep in the back of our minds when we're starting to go down those venues for energy production. But again, that's just going to be, to me, more of a market-driven issue, and we'll just see what the fluctuation in prices for other means of producing energy will do. I will say this: one of the things that I like to point out when I'm talking to groups around the state is in relates to solar energy, and that is this: the connectivity fee that exists in Alabama. If you decide you're going to go off grid and you're going to have your own solar panels to produce energy, but you still want the ability to get energy, electricity from the grid, should you have a cloudy day, there is a connectivity fee that's associated with that. And our connectivity fee is a whole lot higher in Alabama than it is in some of our adjoining states. That's a disparity there that to me just cannot be justified. And that's something else that I intend to take a really close look at once I'm in that office.